Picture this: you turn on the faucet, expecting crystal clear water, but instead, a murky, orange torrent gushes out. It smells faintly metallic, tastes even worse, and leaves ugly stains everywhere. Your clothes turn orange in the wash, your dishes look dirty, and showering feels like bathing in a swamp. This isn't just an inconvenience, it's a daily nightmare that plagues millions of well water users. Sound familiar? Because for our friend Sarah, this was her grim reality, day in and day out. Meet Sarah, a homeowner who poured her heart and soul into her charming rural property. Her dream home was perfect, except for one huge, rusty problem: her well water. For months, she battled iron-rich water that coated everything in an unsightly orange film. Her morning coffee tasted like old pennies, and she was constantly embarrassed to offer guests a glass of water. She felt like she was constantly fighting a losing battle against the very source of life in her home. Can you relate to this kind of helpless feeling? Sarah, like many of us, went straight for the modern solutions. She started with a basic sediment filter, then upgraded to a fancy whole-house iron filter system, costing her thousands. Installation was a nightmare, maintenance was constant, and the filter cartridges? They were a recurring expense that emptied her wallet faster than the water flowed. But guess what? After all that money, all that effort, the water was still orange. A slightly less orange, but still far from clean. It felt like a betrayal. Desperate, Sarah then dipped her toes into the murky world of water treatment chemicals. Shock treatments, rust removers, chelating agents, the list went on. She spent weekends researching obscure compounds, mixing potions, and hoping for a miracle. Each chemical came with its own set of instructions, safety warnings, and often, more questions than answers. The fear of adding something harmful to her drinking water loomed large, and still, the rust persisted. Her frustration was palpable, she was ready to throw in the towel. One sunny afternoon, while chatting with her wise old neighbor, Martha, Sarah vented her endless water woes. Martha listened patiently, then leaned in conspiratorially. "You know," she started, "my grandmother, she used to say the Amish folks have a way with things. Simple ways. They don't mess with all those fancy gadgets." Sarah scoffed at first. The Amish? What could they know about modern water problems? But Martha's words, a quiet whisper of ancient wisdom, lodged themselves in Sarah's mind, a tiny seed of hope. The Amish live a life deliberately separate from modern technology. They rely on time-tested methods, community knowledge, and resourcefulness. This isn't just a cultural preference, it's a way of life built on sustainability and self-reliance. If anyone would have a simple, effective, and most importantly, cheap solution to a common problem like rusty well water, it would be them. They value practical solutions that work with nature, not against it. This thought began to solidify in Sarah's mind: maybe tradition held the key. Driven by a mix of desperation and curiosity, Sarah decided to take a leap of faith. She mapped out a trip to a nearby Amish community in rural Lancaster County. The drive itself felt like a journey back in time, swapping busy highways for winding country roads and flashing billboards for rolling farmlands. She packed a notebook, an open mind, and a healthy dose of skepticism. Was she about to uncover a hidden gem of wisdom, or simply waste another Saturday chasing folk remedies? The anticipation was almost unbearable. Pulling up to a small, bustling Amish farm, Sarah felt a sudden shift in atmosphere. No roaring engines, no blaring music, just the sounds of nature and quiet human activity. Children played without screens, men worked fields with horses, and women tended gardens with practiced grace. There was a palpable sense of peace and purpose. She cautiously approached a farmhouse, her heart pounding a little faster. This was clearly a world apart, a place where solutions might look very different from the ones she'd been chasing. A kind-faced man, his beard long and white, emerged from the barn. This was Josiah, the family patriarch. He greeted Sarah with a warm, gentle smile and a firm handshake that spoke of years of honest labor. Sarah, usually so guarded, felt an immediate sense of trust. She explained her predicament, her endless struggle with the rusty well water, and her expensive, failed attempts. Josiah listened intently, his eyes twinkling knowingly. He beckoned her to sit on a wooden bench, a silent invitation to share his wisdom. Sarah detailed her rusty water saga, the orange stains, the metallic taste, the ruined laundry, the ineffective filters. She explained the thousands she'd spent, the endless hours of maintenance, the toxic chemicals she'd considered. Josiah nodded slowly, occasionally interjecting with a soft hum. It was clear he'd heard variations of this story before. His calm demeanor was a stark contrast to Sarah's bottled-up frustration. She concluded, almost pleading, Is there any other way? Josiah's eyes twinkled again, a silent confirmation. He let out a soft chuckle. "Aya," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "There is a way. An old way. Not fancy. Not costly." Sarah leaned forward, her heart quickening. After all her trials, all her spending, could it truly be something simple? Something inexpensive? Her skepticism warred with a desperate flicker of hope. Josiah stood up, beckoning her to follow him towards a small, unadorned shed. The secret, it seemed, was about to be revealed. The tension was building. Inside the shed, it wasn't a complex array of pipes or an electric pump. There were no digital readouts, no blinking lights. Just tools, neatly hung, and simple, everyday items. Josiah pointed to a corner where several large, open barrels stood. "The problem with your water," he explained, "is too much iron. It settles, yes, but it must be helped." Sarah looked confused. "Help it? How do you help iron settle?" Her mind, conditioned by modern solutions, struggled to grasp the simplicity. This wasn't what she expected at all. Josiah reached into a burlap sack and pulled out a piece of limestone. Just a simple, jagged rock. He then showed her some plain, unbleached cotton cloths and a length of rope. Sarah blinked. This was the $2 trick? Rocks and cloth? She'd envisioned some ancient alchemical process, not this. She felt a surge of doubt. Had she come all this way for something so utterly basic? Josiah, sensing her disbelief, held up the limestone, its pale surface glinting in the shed's dim light. "This," he said, "is the heart of it." Josiah then explained the trick. First, you need 2 large barrels or containers. Next, you acquire a few pieces of limestone, easily found, often free, or bought for a couple of dollars. You place the limestone in the bottom of the first barrel. Then, you simply pump your well water into this barrel. As the water flows over the limestone, it begins a natural process. This isn't rocket science, folks, it's geology. But there's a second, crucial step, which we'll get to in a moment. This humble rock was starting to sound intriguing. But, what then? Sarah asked, still unconvinced. Does the water just sit there? Josiah smiled. Not just sit. The iron in the water, it reacts with the limestone and begins to clump up. Then, after a day or so, you slowly transfer that water from the first barrel to the second. This transfer, he explained, is crucial. You don't just dump it, you let gravity and a simple siphon do the work, leaving the heavy, now clumped iron sediment behind in the first barrel. That's where the cotton cloth comes in. Curious now, Sarah waited. As the partially treated water moves into the second barrel, that's where the unbleached cotton cloth comes into play. You stretch a layer of this thick cloth across the mouth of the second barrel, securing it tightly. As the water siphons from the first barrel to the second, the simple cotton filter catches any remaining sediment, especially those newly clumped iron particles that might still be suspended. It's an extra layer of purification, ensuring that only cleaner water reaches the second barrel. It's so low-tech, it's brilliant. Limestone is calcium carbonate, Josiah clarified, and it makes the water slightly more alkaline. This higher pH helps the dissolved iron to oxidize and form tiny solid particles. These particles, being heavier than water, want to sink. He paused, then, the slow transfer and the cloth simply helped separate those heavy iron particles from the good water. It wasn't magic, it was basic chemistry and physics, working together beautifully. A natural process harnessed by simple materials. Sarah's jaw dropped. It made so much sense. Sarah quickly jotted down her shopping list: 2 large, food-grade barrels, often found repurposed or cheaply, some limestone rocks, free from quarries or under $5 at garden supply stores, unbleached cotton cloth, a few dollars at a fabric store, and a siphon hose. The total cost? Maybe $2 for the limestone and cotton if you really had to buy new, assuming you can scavenge the barrels and hose. Compare that to the thousands she'd spent. It was almost unbelievable, this stark contrast in expenditure and complexity. Her hopes surged. Armed with her newfound knowledge and a bag of limestone Josiah generously provided, Sarah raced home. She sourced 2 large, food-grade plastic barrels from a local brewery, repurposed and free. She carefully placed the limestone in the first barrel, connected her well pump, and watched as the rusty water began to fill it. Her heart hammered with a mix of excitement and apprehension. Would this simple, age-old method truly work where modern technology had failed? Only time, and a little Amish wisdom, would tell. With the first barrel full of murky, limestone-infused water, Sarah had to wait. Josiah had advised letting it sit for at least 24 hours, allowing the natural chemical reactions to take place and the iron particles to begin their descent. This was the hardest part: patience. In a world of instant gratification, waiting felt agonizing. Every hour, she checked on the barrel, peering into the murky depths, hoping to see a change. The anticipation was thick, a silent test of her faith in the Amish method. After a day and a night, Sarah carefully prepared for the transfer. She stretched the cotton cloth over the second barrel, securing it tightly with a bungee cord. Then, she gently inserted the siphon hose into the first barrel, making sure not to disturb the settled sediment at the bottom. Slowly, carefully, she initiated the siphon, watching as the water began to flow. It moved sluggishly at first, then picked up speed, passing through the cotton filter and into the waiting second barrel. This was the moment of truth, the physical separation of rust from relief. As the second barrel slowly filled, Sarah gasped. The water flowing into it, after passing over the limestone and through the cotton, was noticeably clearer. Not perfect yet, but certainly not the rusty orange horror she was used to. The contrast was incredible. A layer of fine, reddish-brown sediment was accumulating on the cotton cloth, proof that the system was working. Her skepticism completely evaporated, replaced by pure elation. This wasn't some minor improvement, this was a dramatic, visible transformation. Once the second barrel was full, Sarah carefully scooped a glass of water. It was clear. She held it up to the light, marveling at its transparency. Then, she took a cautious sip. No metallic taste. Just clean, refreshing water. Tears welled in her eyes. The next day, she did a load of white laundry, something she hadn't dared in months. The whites came out sparkling, without a single orange stain. The simple, $2 Amish trick had delivered where thousands of dollars in complex systems had failed. It was truly a miracle. Let's put this into perspective. Remember that initial gush of rusty, orange water from Sarah's tap? Now imagine it side by side with the sparkling, clear water she's now enjoying. The visual difference is absolutely jaw-dropping. We're talking about a transformation from a foul, unusable liquid to pure, potable water. This isn't just a slight improvement, it's a complete overhaul, achieved with minimal cost and effort. It's a powerful testament to the effectiveness of traditional, natural methods. So, how exactly does this magic happen? It all comes down to iron. Well water often contains dissolved iron, which is colorless. But when it's exposed to oxygen, like when you pump it from the well, and especially in a slightly alkaline environment, that dissolved iron oxidizes. Think of it like rust forming, but in microscopic particles suspended in the water. Limestone raises the pH, speeding up this oxidation process, causing the iron to rust and form visible, heavier particles that want to settle. Once those iron particles are heavy enough, gravity takes over. In the first barrel, they slowly sink to the bottom. This process is called sedimentation. The slow siphon transfer ensures you don't stir up that settled sludge. Then, the cotton cloth acts as a physical barrier, catching any tiny iron particles that didn't quite settle out. It's a brilliant combination of natural chemistry, passive gravity, and simple mechanical filtration. No pumps, no electricity, just the elegance of a well-designed, low-tech system. Truly genius. Let's talk numbers, because this is where the Amish trick really shines. Sarah spent thousands on her modern filter systems, buying them, installing them, and constantly replacing expensive cartridges. We're talking a capital investment of potentially $2,000 to $5,000, plus hundreds annually in maintenance. The Amish method? A few dollars for limestone and cotton, maybe some repurposed barrels. Total capital investment, under $10. Ongoing cost, negligible. The financial savings are truly staggering, proving that sometimes, older really is better, and cheaper. Imagine what you could do with those savings. Instead of pouring money into filters and chemicals, Sarah can now invest in her garden, or even that new chicken coop she's been dreaming of. This isn't just about clean water, it's about financial freedom and self-sufficiency. For less than the cost of a fancy coffee, she solved a problem that had plagued her for years. It truly puts into perspective the power of simple solutions over complex, expensive ones. What will you do with your savings? Beyond the immediate cost savings, the Amish well water trick offers incredible long-term benefits. It's incredibly sustainable, using readily available natural materials that don't need manufacturing or complex disposal. There are no plastic cartridges to throw away, no electrical components to break down. It's a solution that respects the environment and promotes a simpler way of living. This method is not just a quick fix, it's a lifestyle choice, a return to basics that benefits both your wallet and the planet. Talk about a win-win. Sarah was so thrilled with her clean water that she started sharing Josiah's trick with everyone she knew. Her neighbors, who had also struggled with rusty well water, were equally amazed. Soon, a small community of well water users adopted the two-barrel system, transforming their own murky nightmares into clear, potable water. This simple act of sharing knowledge, passed down through generations, created a ripple effect of positive change. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes, the best solutions are the ones we find in our own communities. In our fast-paced, technologically advanced world, it's easy to overlook the wisdom of past generations. We're conditioned to believe that every problem requires a complicated, expensive, high-tech solution. But as Sarah's story proves, sometimes the oldest ways are the best ways. The Amish have perfected a way of life that prioritizes simplicity, resourcefulness, and harmony with nature. Their ancient solution for rusty well water is a stark reminder that true innovation often lies in returning to fundamental principles. Mind blown, right? Are you ready to say goodbye to rusty well water forever? To ditch those expensive filters and harsh chemicals? Sarah's journey is your blueprint. This Amish $2 trick is accessible, affordable, and incredibly effective. All it takes is a little effort, a couple of barrels, some limestone, and a cotton cloth. Imagine crystal clear water for drinking, cooking, and laundry, all without breaking the bank. It's time to reclaim your water independence and embrace a simpler, smarter solution. What are you waiting for? Now, a quick but important note: while this method is fantastic for removing iron, it doesn't sterilize your water or remove all potential contaminants like bacteria or heavy metals beyond iron. Always ensure your well water is regularly tested for potability, especially if you plan to drink it. This trick is about iron and turbidity, not total purification. Use food-grade barrels, keep your setup clean, and enjoy the amazing results responsibly. Your health is paramount, so always prioritize proper water testing. Sarah's journey from rusty water despair to clear water triumph is a powerful testament to the idea that sometimes, the most elegant solutions are the simplest ones. We're constantly bombarded with complex problems and even more complex, expensive solutions. But perhaps it's time to look back, to learn from those who've mastered living efficiently and in harmony with their environment. The Amish $2 trick isn't just a hack for your well water, it's a philosophy. A philosophy of resourcefulness, wisdom, and the undeniable power of simplicity. What a lesson! So, if you're battling rusty well water, don't waste another dime on expensive filters or chemical treatments that barely work. Take a page from Sarah's book, and from the timeless wisdom of the Amish. Embrace the $2 trick. It's environmentally friendly, cost-effective, and surprisingly powerful. You deserve clean, clear water, and it shouldn't cost you a fortune. Try this method out, and let us know your results in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more amazing insights and simple solutions. Your well, and your wallet, will thank you.